There is something very special brewing in Montreal right now as there's a new bromance forming between Lane Hutson and Patrik Laine, with Lane saying it's just incredibly fun to play with Laine, saying some things that Laine does that even helps out his game. This is something we need to keep an eye on and dive a little deeper into, but it's not just that. We have some new trade reports saying Montreal is still looking for a top 4 right-hand shot defenseman, and they were linked to one big name that we have to talk about. And also a little update on the Laval Rocket, as Filip Mesar is about ready to go. All that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. And Jesse, let's start with our boy Filip Mesar. It's been a while, but Vincent Demouy posted today saying the trios for Laval in practice today. Vincent Arsenault and Alex Barré-Boulet were both not there. Barré-Boulet, who's usually up there on that first line, out for personal reasons. So who took his spot? But Mesar, who's a bit ahead of schedule on his injury recovery, Jesse, he's slotting in on that first line in practice. Mesar with Laurent Dauphin and Joshua Roy. Filip Mesar's had a great season so far. In only 5 games, he has 5 points, and he's looked every bit of that point per game pace so far right now. I'm excited to see him finally back because he's been a bit slept on, a bit forgotten about because of that injury, but having him back on that Laval roster I think is going to be fantastic for him, especially if he can play with talented players like Dauphin and Roy.
And helping that a very good Laval Rocket team get even better will definitely be a welcome addition, onto that first line. Most likely also playing with Joshua Roy. And we know he was off to an amazing start of the season. It's been such a roller coaster, right? Where for sure he's getting slept on. Then he has like that amazing start. People are starting to get hyped on him again, only to have the injury once again. We know this is par for the course. It's something that happens, but for sure, we want, our boy Mesar back out on the ice, playing hockey, because the big thing of why he could still really pan out, Josh, I believe, that skating ability. Oh, yeah. He's a very good skater. The NHL is becoming quicker than ever. He's got those good hands and close. More of that playmaker more than anything else, as those 4 assists, even through a small sample size.
Look at last year's playoffs.
Got good hands as well. Exactly. Got that finishing ability. So can't wait to see him back with Laval. And the question is now, can he stay on that point per game pace?
Who knows? He's on a line with good players. Laurent Dauphin feels like he's been back and forth in the Habs organization. I think he was in Arizona for a little bit too, but Mesar there playing with him and Joshua Roy. That second line though too, Jesse, has been rolling with Beck and Davidson specifically. This Laval Rocket team is deep. They got Arber Pinard on that third pairing, but with Mesar back, he's almost certainly going to get back on that power play, which is somewhere that Montreal has envisioned him long term. So if he can get back on there, get lots of power play minutes, I think very well he could stay close to that pace. Will he be a point per game in his first full season in the AHL? Hard to guarantee that, but all the same, the signs seem to be there, Jesse, for a nice seasoning coming from him. But let's move on because there's some other young players Montreal may be targeting, or maybe some not so young players, because we got to talk about the trades. Now, we know Logan Mailloux and David Reinbacher are those 2 guys right now that Montreal has on right D that they plan to be, future solid core pieces of this franchise. But that has not stopped them from being involved in trade talks. And in an article that I'll link down below from rg.org, there's an anonymous source that dives into some of these rumors, and I just want to get into these. So they basically say Montreal is playing every night with 2 lefties on the right side along with Savard. But what happens when they finally decide to pull the trigger on a deadline trade? They're going to be exposed. That's why they're looking for a bona fide right-shooting top 4 defenseman within the same age range as the top end of their core. Someone who could still have another level to reach, like Mike Matheson did before he came to Montreal, but someone that's established and dependable. But it doesn't end there, Jesse. This same source said the Canadiens were one of the teams, along with Columbus, Anaheim, and Detroit, to be poking around in the Trouba sweepstakes. Glad we don't have him. I do not like Jacob Trouba. Last night stuck out the elbow when trying to hit Caufield again. He missed, thankfully. Is what it is. But just to hear Montreal's poking around on someone like this makes you feel like this trade is coming. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And Jesse, the fact that we've seen this team now, I don't want to say overperform, but step up a whole nother level with Laine just makes you feel like adding a bit more talented depth to that decor could make another significant difference.
It's all about the fit right now for the Montreal Canadiens. And no, we're not talking about Patrik Laine yet. That's in the next section, right? But we see with Trouba and, with Xhekaj here, it's kind of an example of 2 things, right? Trouba was just too much money, and also with Juraj, it just wasn't that proven sort of commodity. But they're kicking tires on it because it's so hard to find that perfect sweet spot all the time, right? There's a very small list of players that kind of fit where they're at the top end of the age group, they're top 4, a lot of these other things to kind of go along with that Kent Hughes is looking for. I think he is doing right to be patient on this because it is true that it is going to cost. So it's you want to make sure that you're definitely getting this right. The question is not when are the Montreal Canadiens going to get that top 4 defenseman, right-hand defenseman. It's really when, Josh. Like, do you think it's going to be before the trade deadline to kind of have somebody for Savard, like before he's gone? Or do you think they're going to have to wait until the summer to maybe get that perfect type of fit there?
I think they actually go on to say that it could very well just happen in the summer. The summer actually makes more sense as a timeline. I don't know, like, I think that summer probably makes more sense, and I'll explain why. It's because the right D market right now, even for established veterans, is slim, which is why a lot of projected mock trades have David Savard fetching a second or even a first-round draft pick for his services. In other years, he might not, but the right D service right now is really, really low, and you know that if there's a player like described in this article that's available for Montreal to trade for, it would cost them a fortune because every other team in the league would be bidding on it. In the summer, there's less urgency to make a trade, I would say, for teams heading towards the playoffs. And while Montreal has the assets to make it happen, I don't know. I think they're probably okay rolling with some of the guys that they have right now down the stretch. I mean, you make a trade, say, in January or something, yeah, you run with a lot of young defensemen who are probably not ready to handle that kind of load like we saw last year, like we saw at the beginning of this year. But again, trial by fire, this is really the last year that has to happen, Jesse. I expect something to happen at least before the offseason, but I'm not ready to guarantee it'll be before the deadline.
And it really kind of depends on where the team is at. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, only 4 points out of that coveted last playoff spot right now. But it's like, in an ideal world, you're getting somebody before David Savard is gone. He's, as they mentioned, it's like, because you want to make sure that obviously you're having right-handed in their natural position there. And we want Guhle back, not kind of always having a bunch of lefties all on that right side. So definitely in an ideal world, but given how hard it is to actually get that right fit, absolutely the summer is the most likelihood. You also have a little bit of a wider pool to be able to kind of draw from as well at that point in time. The thing is with Kent Hughes is like when you're kind of planning your attack, sometimes you got to be patient, not just like with this rebuild as a whole, but even for this right-hand position. We can see a lot of attacks go awry when they're kind of too hasty. They're too impulsive on it. The real godfather, so to speak, like Kent Hughes. I like to be are kind of sitting back, taking their time on this to really know when the right opportunity is and then make them an offer that they can't refuse.
I'm excited to see what happens. Like, I mean, this team, if they continue to perform, like you said, 4 points out of a playoff spot now, they still need to outperform a lot of other really good teams if they want to get there. But, hey, this team looks really good right now, and who knows when it'll happen. But let us know what you guys think down below. Should this happen before the season's over? Because I think some people might think that might be a bit more fun at the very least. But let's move on, speaking of fun, to our final topic of the video. We got to talk a bit about this Lane Laine connection right now, Jesse. Oh my gosh, is it amazing. We got a quote from Lane Hutson saying all the little plays that Laine makes, even on the defensive end, are pretty cool. He kind of baits guys into what he wants them to do. You can't teach that. He also said that playing with Laine is just straight up very, very fun. And when asked about his comments on the power play, he said, I got 2 great guys to get the puck to. So if someone's open, I'm going to get it to him. Jesse, Patrick Laine and Lane Hutson, this is a duo that we've seen in the preseason, the Lane train with I don't know if I can say Laine train. I don't even know. We got to get something up for Patrick Laine. But this is a duo that we saw play very well together in the preseason. And Laine so far, well, all of his goals have had a Hutson assist. So it's like, it's incredible right now what we're seeing from him and that chemistry between those two. They open up the game for each other. Lane's threat on the point opens up Laine. Laine's shooting threat is probably going to open up Lane for space a lot more in the game. Exactly. It's a match made in heaven right now, and it is paying dividends right away. And plus, they really seem to get along with each other and other guys, if you ask Slaf too.
Yeah, it's more than just their names that they, being so similar that they really have in common. And we kind of hinted at the fact that we would suspect that them kind of starting off hot together because it's like, both deceptive, both highly skilled players that think the game at that next level. And what that then really creates is you have that creativity from Lane Hutson combined with that finishing ability from Patrick Laine, right? Whereas now Hudson's being that quarterback on that power play, he's helping to kind of create space, there and find those seams kind of for Laine, obviously with those amazing feeds. Likewise, Laine, as they're respecting that shot, is kind of opening up some space for him as well there. So absolutely amazing to see. And they're both off to historic starts in their Montreal Canadiens debut. We see with Lane Hutson breaking that point streak for points by a defenseman. And we see also with Laine going back to 2001, the last time that we had a player score 3 goals in his first 4 games for the Montreal Canadiens. Starting off hot, but very much because of that on-ice chemistry that they're having together right now.
It's unreal. I'm just going to play the goal from last night again. Not that one. Was it this one? This Suzuki pass is insane, but what's missing from this clip is the fact that Lane Hutson made a really nice keep-in at the blue line that led to this. It was Lane Hutson who kept the puck in off a nice pass from Laine. Hutson across to Suzuki, Suzuki back to Laine, and it feels like Laine can do stuff with the puck. Like when Lane Hutson passes the puck, sometimes people have a tough time handling it. Laine does not have that problem, and he's one of the only guys on the team, it feels like, that can adequately receive a Lane Hutson setup and do something special with it. There is something special brewing here, Jesse, and I want to hear the fans all talking about it down below, because we saw this in the preseason. We thought it's too good to be true, right? No, it's not too good to be true, because we're seeing it before our very eyes. Let us know your thoughts on this dynamic duo moving forward down below. We'd love to hear from you, because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You made it here 10.5 minutes into this video and you haven't hit subscribe, do it now. It's completely free. We'd really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.